Hi guys, for this discussion we will be talking about the elasticity of demand. So we've already tackled how to do a demand curve. Alam na natin kung ano pinagkaiba ng change in demand versus change in quantity demanded. And then you guys also already talked about the supply curve naman. You guys talked about the change in supply and versus the change in quantity supplied. So this time around, we will be talking about the elasticity of demand. So ano nga po ba ang elasticity of demand? We already tackled that elasticity, the law of demand tells us that when price goes up, quantity demanded goes down and vice versa. Again, let's repeat that statement. Pag ang presyo ng isang good or service ay tumaas, of course, hindi bababa ang mga willing bumili ng produkto or serbisyo na yon. So, ibig sabihin, pag tumaas ang presyo, bababa ang quantity demanded. Pag ang presyo naman ay bumaba, mas marami ang mga tao na willing bumili. Ibig sabihin, if price goes down, quantity demanded will increase. So vice versa sa opposite directions. Now the question remains, or the question right now is, how much does the quantity demanded change when price changes? Gaano kalaki yung effect ng price change na iyon? Ito ang pinag-uusapan natin when we talk about elasticity of demand. So let's proceed. When we talk about elasticity of demand, we have elastic and inelastic. When we talk about elastic, a demand curve is said to be elastic when an increase in price reduces the quantity demanded by a lot. Ibig sabihin, malaki ang epekto. Pag inelastic naman, the same increase in price reduces quantity demanded by just a little bit. So pag ang change natin ay malaki or positive, ibig sabihin elastic siya. Pag ang change naman natin is maliit lang or negative, ibig sabihin inelastic po siya. For example, in this graph, we have here a demand curve. Kung mapapansin nyo, the same price increase from $40 to $50, pero maliit lang ang binago ng quantity demanded, ang units natin. So, from $40 to $50, ibig sabihin, tumaas ang presyo. Pag tumaas ang presyo, ano nga ba ulit ang mangyayari sa quantity demanded natin? Hindi ba ito ay bababa? So, from 80, naging 75 siya. Gaano kalaki ngayon yung naging difference niya? Gaano kalaki yung pagbabago na naganap dun sa ating quantity demanded? Maliit lang. It just changed just a little bit. So ibig sabihin, inelastic demand ang meron tayo with this kind of demand curve. When we have this kind of demand curve naman, same price increase from $40 to $50. Pero ang laki na naging pagbabago from 80 units, quantity demanded units, naging 20 na lang ang quantity demanded units. Pero parehas lang ang price increase natin. It caused a big decrease in quantity demanded, therefore making it an elastic demand. So yun po ang difference natin. If you would also see here in the graph, pag ang demand curve natin ay mas matarik, mas medyo leaning into vertical, patayo, ibig sabihin more or less inelastic ang demand natin. Pero if the demand curve is almost flat or mas flat siya, hindi siya masyadong patayo, ibig sabihin it is an elastic demand. So ano nga ba yung mga determinants natin or ano yung mga factors na nakakaapekto sa elasticity of demand? So ito yung limang yun. First, we have the availability of the substitutes, time horizon, category of product, necessities versus luxuries, and purchase size. So first, we will talk about the availability of substitutes. It strongly influences the sensitivity of the quantity demanded to change in the price. Kung ang goods natin ay maraming substitute, for goods with many substitutes, switching brands when prices change is easy. Madali lang. So demand is elastic. For goods with fewer substitutes, consumers find it hard to adjust. Therefore, quantity demanded, inelastic siya. Ano yung parang pwedeng example natin dito? Like this one. Let's say for example, our first good is oil. Oil, says here, is inelastic. Bakit? When we talk about oil, hindi po ito yung mga cooking oil na ginagamit natin, okay? When we talk about oil, ito yung gasolina, the diesel, the fuel that is used by cars. So mapapansin nyo na hindi naman gaano karami o hindi ganoon kadami ang substitutes ng oil natin. Konti lang ang mga kalaban niya. Therefore, pag merong change sa kanyang price, inelastic siya kasi hindi naman ganoon kadali makakahanap ng substitute ang consumers natin. Sige, saan ka ba makakahanap ng pwedeng substitute mo para sa gas ng iyong sasakyan? 'Di ba hindi naman ganoon karami? Very limited lang ang mga substitutes natin. So kahit magkaroon ng change sa price ng oil, hindi gaano maapektuhan ang quantity demanded natin kasi hindi naman ganoon kadami ang kanyang substitute or competition. Opposite naman siya ng next example natin, which is Brazilian coffee. If the price of Brazilian coffee will change, gaano kalaki ang magiging change in quantity demanded natin? Marami kasi ang klase ang coffee eh. Bukod sa Brazilian coffee, meron tayong Mexican, meron tayong Irish, meron tayong Philippine coffee, Barako. So there are many varieties in coffee, making it, kung tumaas man ang price ng Brazilian coffee, makakahanap kagad ng substitutes ang mga consumers natin. Makakahanap kagad sila ng ibang produkto. So kapag nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa presyo ng Brazilian coffee, ay teka, doon na lang ako sa mas murang kape. Makakahanap kagad sila. Therefore, making it elastic. Malaki ngayon ang nagiging pagbabago. Same with insulin. Since insulin kasi kailangan siya ng katawan natin, ito yung mga para sa mga diabetic para ma-process yung sugar, halos wala talagang substitute ng insulin. So kahit magtaas ang presyo niya, kahit bumaba ang presyo niya, hindi ganon hindi ganon kalaki ang magiging effect niya sa quantity demanded natin kasi wala naman talaga siyang substitute. Pero pag aspirin, or sabihin natin wag aspirin, sabihin na natin siguro paracetamol, maraming klase ang paracetamol, maraming brands ang paracetamol. Pag tumaas ang presyo ng biogesic, agad-agad ka pupunta sa iba or much cheaper or generic na paracetamol na lang. Therefore, making it elastic since marami ang substitute niya. Next, we have time horizon. When we talk about time horizon, if nagkaroon ng pagbabago kagad sa change ng isang produkto natin, syempre medyo hindi ka makakapag-adjust accordingly. Ay, tumaas yung presyo ng iced coffee. Siguro, babawasan natin ng kakaunti yung ating konsumo ng iced coffee. Therefore, making it inelastic. Pero as time goes by, nasanay ka na ito ang presyo ng iced coffee mo, unti-unti ka nang halos hindi bumibili. Hanggang sa nasanay ka na wala or halos makakahanap ka na ng iba na mas murang substitute, making it elastic change naman. So ito naman dito sa time horizon, pinag-uusapan natin yung adaptability ng consumer natin, kung gaano sila kabilis mag-adapt sa change ng prices natin. When we talk about classification of the goods naman, ito yung general and specific. When we talk about general, for example, food. Ang food natin, pag tumaas ang price ng food, since it is a very broad subject, it is a very broad classification, hindi mo ganun may express in large amounts yung changes natin since napakarami kasing factors, napakarami in general. So maliit lang ang change na makikita mo, therefore making it an inelastic demand. Pero pag mas specific na food ang iyong tinarget, let's say for example burgers, since it is more specific compared to food, elastic siya. Pag tumaas ang presyo ng isang burger or ng isang specific na pagkain, bababa naturally ang kanyang quantity demanded, making it elastic. Next is the nature of the good. Dito naman, it's more, kung dun sa pinag-usapan natin kanina ng time horizon, it is the adaptability of the consumers. With the nature of the good naman, ito yung preference mo, preference ng consumer natin. Kung ang good na yon is a necessity for the consumer, most likely, bibili pa rin siya kahit mahal or kahit nagkaroon ng change or increase in price. Bibili pa rin siya ng produktong yon kasi kailangan niya yon. Therefore, making it inelastic. Pero kung yung good na yon is a luxury sa kanya, hindi naman talaga kailangan. It's just there to satisfy a want or just there to satisfy a desire. Hindi naman talaga siya ganun kakailangan. So, pag nagkaroon ng increase sa kanyang price, malaki ang magiging change ng quantity demanded para dun sa consumer na yun. Therefore, making it elastic. And lastly, we have the size of the purchase. Dito naman, we have time horizons based sa adaptability ng consumer. We have the nature of the good based sa preference ng consumer natin. Size of the purchase naman, based ito sa consumer buying power ng ating consumer. Kung gaano kalaki ang kanyang budget pagbibili. For example, laptops. Pag hindi naman ganoon kalaki ang iyong budget. For example, very limited. Let's say for example, naghahanap ka ng laptop with a budget of 50,000 pesos. Pag may nakita ka kagad na change in price, pero yun nga, since limited lang ang iyong pera, malamang sa malamang hindi mo na ito bibilin. Maghahanap ka ng ibang produkto. Pero kung ikaw naman ay maraming budget at nakita mo na may price change doon sa laptop na gusto mong bilhin, hindi ka masyadong maapektuhan ng price change na yon. Therefore, making it inelastic. So this is just the summary of the determinants of elasticity of demand. Dito mas mapapansin nyo or mas makikita nyo yung difference between elastic and inelastic natin. Next, we will now talk about a little bit confusing part of elasticity of demand. Ito yung mathematics na meron tayo. So the elasticity of demand is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. So dito nyo makikita na ang elasticity of demand is equals to the percentage of delta. Delta here is the symbol of change. So pwede nyo siyang basahin as the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. So yun yung kanyang formula. If you will look here, ito yung classic example ng mathematics of elasticity of demand. Ito yung madalas na given. If the price of oil increased by 10% and over a period of several years, the quantity demanded falls by 5%, then the long run elasticity of demand for oil is what? Ano nga ba ulit ang ating formula? Ang formula natin is change in quantity demanded divided by change in our price. So, ang ilalagay natin sa first part ng ating equation is the quantity demanded, which is 5%. Pero since this is a fall, ibig sabihin, negative 5% ang ating change. Divided by the 10% change of price in oil equals negative 0.5 or 0.05 in absolute terms. So yun po, ibig sabihin 0.5 ang ating elasticity of demand. And remember, if negative ang ating elasticity of demand, ano ngayon ang ating elasticity? Is it elastic or inelastic? In this example, negative 0.5 or 0.5. What do you guys think? In this example, it is actually inelastic. So ito lang naman yung tatandaan nyo in determining if the elasticity is inelastic or elastic. Pag less than 1 ang makukuha nyong elasticity of demand, it is inelastic. If it is greater than 1, the demand curve is elastic. And if it is equals to 1, the demand curve is unit elastic. So basically, of course, if the value is less than 1, automatically it is negative. Anything that falls that is lower than 0, it is negative. So pwede na nating i-drop yung negative sign and let's just get the absolute value of the equation. So tandaan, kung less than 1, mas mababa sa 1, inelastic. If it is more than 1, mas marami sa 1, the demand curve is elastic. Ngayon, paano pag ang given natin ay walang percentage? Ano ngayon ang ating gagamiting formula? Let's say for example, kayo ay nagda-drive ka ng 100 kilometers per hour sa, let's say for example, nasa SLEX ka, walang masyadong sasakyan, naisipan mo na mag-drive ng mabilis, pero syempre hindi siya recommended for you guys, pero yun, 100 kph ang iyong bilis. Ngayon, let's say for example, you increased your speed by 50%. Of course, your speed will become 150 kilometers per hour. Tama po ba? Pero kung let's say for example from 150 kilometers per hour you reduced your speed by 50%, hindi ba 75% ang tamang sagot doon? So bakit hindi siya bumalik sa 100% or dun sa original natin na speed kung parehas lang naman ang tinaas at binaba ng speed natin, parehas na 50%. So medyo merong inaccuracy, hindi siya masyadong accurate, and we don't want that when computing the elasticity of demand. That is why we will use the midpoint formula. Don't worry, masyado nga lang marami ang kanyang equation, pero this is very simple. So ganito ang mangyayari. Ito ang susundin nyo ngayon na formula. The elasticity of demand equals the quantity after the change minus the quantity before the change divided by the average quantity na meron tayo, which is the quantity after plus quantity before divided by 2. So yun yung kanyang formula, divided by the price after minus the price before the change divided by the average of the price, which is the price after plus price before divided by 2. So this is one of the examples na makikita nyo when you guys will solve for elasticity of demand. At the initial price of $10, the quantity demanded is 100. When the price rises to $20, the quantity demanded falls to 90%. So what is the elasticity? Diba, ang una nating ilalagay dito is the quantity after the change. So in this example, that is 90. Kasi ito yung quantity after the change. So 90 minus 100. 100 is the quantity before the change over here. So yun yung iyong nilalagay sa taas. Divided by, you will just add up the two quantities divided by 2. Over kung ano yung price, kung ano yung quantity na nilagay mo sa unang-una, which is here 90, same lang din ang position na ilalagay mo sa price. Kung ano yung price change, yun yung una mong ilalagay, and then yung original price niya, yun yung ilalagay mo sa next. So in this case, the price change is $20 minus the original price of $10 divided by the average of the price. And if you will look here closely, ito ang kanyang magiging formula and ito ang magiging sagot. Therefore, it is negative 1.58. And this is what? This is less than 1. So, ibig sabihin, ano ang elasticity natin dito? Is it inelastic or elastic? What do you guys think? Of course, this is less than 1 means it is inelastic. Hindi gaanon karami ang change in quantity demanded or ang elasticity of demand. And now, lastly, we will talk about elasticity of demand and total revenue. Since the a firm's revenues is equal to the price times quantity sold, and the elasticity of demand is talks about the relationship of price and quantity, malaki ang implication ng elasticity of demand doon sa revenue ng isang kumpanya. If you would look here closely, if the price rises, the quantity demanded decreases by a small amount. Therefore, kung ganyan na maging graph mo, it is an inelastic demand curve. So, tataas ang inyong revenue. Kung makikita nyo dito, doon sa ating formula, revenue equals the price of the product times the quantity demanded. So, over here sa example natin, $10 times 100, that's $1,000. Tapos, nagkaroon, since our demand curve is inelastic, kung tataas ang presyo natin ng $20, kaunti lang ang magiging change sa ating quantity demanded. So, you will multiply it. Revenue equals $20 price times 90, which is the quantity demanded. So, tumaas pa ang revenue natin by $1,800. So, kung ang demand curve natin is inelastic, revenue will rise. Pero opposite naman, pag elastic ang ating demand curve. If our demand curve is inelastic, makikita mo dito, the price is $10 and the quantity demanded is $250. Therefore, revenue is this one, $2,500. Ngayon, tumaas ang price into $20, bumaba ang demand into $50. Kukunin mo ang revenue equals $20 times 50, the change in quantity demanded, it is $1,000. So, nagkaroon ng fall sa revenue natin. So, tatandaan nyo lang, if the demand curve is inelastic, revenue will increase. If the demand curve is elastic, the revenue will decrease. Yun lang po ang kailangan nyo tandaan. And lastly, this is included in your modules. So, sinama ko na rin dito, cross-price elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. This is pretty much self-explanatory naman. And if you guys understood the lesson or the formulas that is used for computing elasticity of demand, simple na lang din itong mga formula na ito. So, I would like you guys to conduct self-study in this region of your module, cross-price elasticity and income elasticity. So, yun lang naman ang ating pagkatatapos ng video discussion. Hope you guys learned something, and remember, if you have any questions, just please feel free to ask me any questions. Sasagot ako. Di naman ako masamang tao, di ako nangagat, di ako madaling magalit. I will explain it to you at the best possible way that I can. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat and goodbye.